Yes, people, big up to everyone. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Welcome back to another stream on Chic TV. We're back with episode number 2 of your favorite The Almost Show, something that we recently just started. Today's edition, or last week, we'll do a little bit of a recap. Last week, we did talk about fellow Man United player or ex-United player, Paul Pogba. But yeah, today we have a Chelsea edition. Today we have Oscar from Chelsea. I know you guys, Chelsea fans who will be tuning in later, remember this guy, absolute baller. Yeah, we're going to be talking about him today. Obviously, I want to introduce my special guest or my co-panelist, not even special guest. He is my co-panelist with us today. Man like YG in the building. Yes, YG.
Big up. What's going on? I hope we're all well.
Yes, sir. You already know, man. Hope everything is good with you besides football and stuff like that. Life, you know, just in general.
Oh, it's great, mate. It's great being YG.
It's great being YG. Love that. But yeah, man. We got Prime in the building. Big up to Prime. He says he answered my question. What if Oscar never left Chelsea? He says Mason Mount wouldn't have existed. Prime, if you want the link, let me know because I will send it to you because we definitely need some Chelsea fan perspectives. I was just really late to ask anybody to jump onto the stream. But if you need the link, just shout me, let me know in the chat, and I will send the link over to you, Prime. Hope you're good, though. I hope everything is good with you. Hey, big up to Joel. Prime says yes, so I'll send it over to you in just a second. But big up to Joel as well. My guy, always showing up in all the streams, showing love. Another thing, real quick, I do want to say, because this has been the first time I've gone live since that's happened. We have reached 400 subscribers on the channel, so big up to every person who's
big up to Chic TV.
Yeah, man.
Big getting milestones out here.
400 subscribers obviously took a lot of work, but we're here. The ultimate goal is that 1K by the end of the year, so we're definitely going to get that. But yeah, big up to you, Joel and Prime. I got you. Let me send you the link in just 1 second. Before we do begin, though, YG, just give me your overall thoughts about Oscar. I'm sure you know this player, you know who he was and stuff like that. Obviously, we both discussed and decided to talk about Oscar in today's episode. But yeah, just give me your overall thoughts before we actually go into a deep dive of his like seasons and his games and all that type of stuff while I send the link to Prime.
One thing I can say is reminds me a lot of one of my favorite players. One of my favorite players. We know who my favorite player is, but
go on.
Kaka. He proper reminds me of Kaka.
Okay.
Really reminds me of Kaka.
Yeah.
He's like a regen of Kaka, playing similar style, progressing the balls, scoring goals, getting into spaces. Got a pass on him as well. All an out 10. What we're missing in the modern game.
Do you feel like his career at Chelsea was short? I mean, obviously, successful career. He won, I believe. Well, technically, he was. Well, this is a question that I guess Chelsea fans will answer for me. Was he part of the team when Conte won the league? Because I feel like he was still at the club. I could be wrong though, but he's won one Premier League title for sure, and then he also won a Europa League, I believe. So he's had even in that short stint that he did have at Chelsea, he had a pretty successful career. I remember some games specifically where some of the goals that he scored. Like I'm pretty sure chat remembers that Juventus goal in the Champions League where he absolutely just spun that guy and then top bins, curled it into top bins. I remember there was another one where he played the pass to Hazard, and this was actually against us. This was against United, and this was at the Bridge. I think this was 2014-15. He played like a backheel pass to Hazard, and Hazard ended up scoring. So there's a lot of moments, like a lot of goals that he's had. Of course, I think he was part of the 6-0 when Chelsea beat Arsenal at Stamford Bridge in Arsene Wenger's 1000th game. I think he was on the scoring sheet for that as well. So, and then also the infamous, he actually was part of the Brazil squad too. I don't know if you remember this, YG.
He scored
in that Germany game when they lost 7-1. He was the one player who scored the goal.
Yeah, he was the one who scored.
Yeah, he was the one player who scored. But yeah, I mean, my overall thoughts about Oscar. Obviously, I wouldn't say I hate him, but I didn't like that he played for Chelsea because
I'd love to have him.
Like he was such a good player, like very technical Brazilian. Like he's not like some of the fake Brazilians that we see in recent times, like Richarlison, like Anthony, like Andreas Pereira. Like all these Brazilians are fake, but Oscar was legit. And Joel says it himself too. He says he was his favorite Brazilian. So yeah, fair enough, man. But yeah, Oscar's career, we can get into it real quick. By the way, Prime, I did send you the link on Twitter. You can whenever you go. Big up to Eli. He says, yes, big up Sheik and YG. Eli, don't worry. I will shout you next because we're going to do an Arsenal player next. So I will shout you for that. And most likely I'm not going to give any hints actually because I just want the chat to see who it is. But we will be doing an Arsenal player next. So I will be calling you on the stream. I know you have work and stuff sometimes, so we'll try to figure something out with you, bro. Maybe either on a Saturday next time, like next week, or we'll see if YG is available too. But big up to Eli. Make sure you guys go subscribe to his channel. Make sure you guys also check out his Twitch, _Book of Eli, if I'm not wrong. But you can obviously drop the link in the chat. My Eli, bro. Hope you're blessed as well. Got Prime in the building too. Yes, Prime. Chelsea.
Big up Prime.
What you saying, Prime?
Big up, man. We're talking about Oscar. Listen,
yes,
I was a fan of Oscar when he was at Chelsea, man.
Hey, love that. Love that, bro. But yeah, Prime, I don't know if you've seen this show before, something that me and YG have just started recently. It's basically called The Almost Show, where we kind of just talk about some players who I guess just didn't flourish, who didn't really have the career that we thought that they would have. It's also going to be a little bit about like players who some players who did have a good career who could have reached a much higher potential just didn't achieve it. Some ones who just didn't work out at all. So in the first episode, obviously we discussed Pogba from Man United. This episode we got Oscar. We're basically going to be doing different players from different clubs, but I'm glad to have you here, Chelsea fan, of course, and hope everything is blessed with you besides football and stuff like that too. But yeah, big up to H as well. I see you, H, in the chat. Prime, your thoughts on Oscar? Obviously, you're a Chelsea fan. You have a lot more to say. You've watched Oscar a lot more closely than us. We've obviously just seen games here and there, and I'm gonna do a deep dive in all his stats and stuff like that to really show how underrated he really was at Chelsea. But yeah, your thoughts, your overall thoughts on just Oscar and what he meant to you at Chelsea.
Yeah, I've always liked Oscar. Very talented young player. I think we bought him that summer, him coming off in the Olympics with Brazil.
2012 was it? Sorry to cut you off.
Sorry?
Was it 2012? Was it
2012? Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and that summer we also got in Eden Hazard, and because Hazard's Hazard, and we also had Mata at that time, they were always deemed the better players, which again I understand. But Oscar was also just as good for Chelsea. He played a good part in us winning the title under Mourinho 2015. And it's a shame that with Conte in 2017 that Conte couldn't find a fit for him in the team and he just throws him out of the squad. But I don't know. I would have kept him if we didn't sell him that summer. I think he could have played a very good part under Sarri because the profile of midfielder that he is, he would have worked as a left-sided 8 under Sarri. He also probably would have done well under Lampard and Tuchel as well, and we wouldn't have had to use and over-rely on Mason Mount.
Right.
So
yeah, man, Oscar, I guess he paved the way for Mason Money Mount. But yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, I'm looking at let's see. So on 16th of July 2012. Well, one thing that's crazy is you guys actually got Oscar and Hazard in the same transfer window.
Yes,
right? Wasn't that the same transfer
did.
window? Yeah. So what a transfer kings for real. You know, like Chelsea say right now they're transfer kings, but man, transfer kings for real. These guys picked up Oscar and Hazard in the same transfer window. But I see that he made his debut. He came on in the 64th minute in their opening game in the 2012-13 season against Wigan. He made his first start of the season on 19 September and in the Champions League game against Juventus, the infamous Champions League game. I think it was 2-2 that game, right? At Stamford Bridge, at home to Juventus. And I think he scored both goals, if I'm not wrong. Or did he score?
Yeah, that was the game where he was pulled to man-mark Pirlo. And he scored a wonder goal against Juve.
He did. He scored a wonder goal. I remember that goal. And then 3 days later, he made his first Premier League start in a 1-0 victory over Stoke City. He became a regular starter under Roberto Di Matteo's creative midfield with Mata and Hazard is what this website is saying. He scored his third goal of the season in the Champions League against Chelsea's 2-1 away defeat. That same season, though, I remember Di Matteo was sacked midway, right? And this was the year after you guys won the Champions League, but you guys had a Europa League run, and I think you won the Europa League that season.
We won the Europa League under Rafa Benitez.
Crazy. Rafa Benitez, you know. That is crazy. But yeah, you had to. I was referring to some of the goals that I remember he scored. I think he had a part in that 6-0 against Arsenal at home at Stamford Bridge. I remember you guys.
Everyone had a part in that game.
You know what's the craziest thing? Mo Salah scored in that game. Isn't that insane? Mo Salah, Mohamed Salah scored.
I think, right?
Yeah, he scored like
the sixth goal.
I think it was. Yeah. I remember the goal too. He megged their goalkeeper. Like he nutmegged their goal. It was through the legs, and yeah, he scored. It was the 6th goal. That game was, and Andrew Schürrle was like the best player for me on that pitch in that game specifically. But yeah, Chelsea had like that time Chelsea's team was cold and some really like hidden ballers here and there. My question to you, Prime, is Oscar, right? Who would you compare him to someone from today's game? Someone that you think is very close to Oscar in terms of how he played and all that type of stuff? Because Oscar played more primarily in the 10, right? Did he sometimes go to the wings or anything like that? Or was he more primarily in the 10?
The thing about Oscar, right? Because for both Chelsea and for Brazil, because you had Hazard and Neymar, obviously superior talent, superior players. He was always deemed as like having to play a supporting role. So for Brazil, when Neymar would play in the 10, Oscar would have to play out wide or would have to accommodate whatever Neymar would do. For Chelsea, Hazard would play in the 10. Hazard would play off the left. Mata would play in the 10. And Oscar would have to go play out wide or we'd have to go do the dog work in midfield to make up for the fact of other guys. Hazard, for example, wasn't tracking back. So it's a shame. If he was playing in a team where he was the main guy, he was the star, I think you would have seen a lot more from him. What would I compare him to now?
Yes, like some player that you think he'd be comparable to in today's game.
Okay. I'm going to say Mount and Bruno. Do you know the perception people have of Mount and Bruno? That they create all these chances and they work hard off the ball and they can press and they can play in multiple positions. I would say that's Oscar, but he's actually good.
Yeah. I would say he's more technical than the both of them. Definitely more technical than Mason Mount.
Definitely a lot more technical, but the idea people have of what Bruno is or what Mount is, Oscar could actually do that and a lot more.
Yeah, because at that time you did also have. Well, you basically had. Okay, so I'm looking at here. I'm actually going to show this real quick. I'm looking at the lineup in that game because Chelsea.
Isco with Pace is another good example. Yeah,
Isco with Pace. I
wouldn't say as creative as Isco per se, but Isco with Pace is another good example.
But this is basically
into Kaka 100%.
Kaka, similar to that type of game. Obviously, not saying that he's anywhere near Kaka in terms of the career that they've had, but in terms of how they played, Joel makes a good point too. He says Oscar is what people thought Joel Felix was going to be. That's actually a really good point as well. But yeah, I'm looking at the lineups. This is the lineup. So he actually didn't even start that game. They played Hazard in the 10. They played Mata on the left. They played Ramirez on the right. They had Fernando Torres up front. And I'm looking at. Let's see if I can get his stats right here. Can you just click on them? Oh, I guess not. Yeah, he came off the bench, and made an instant impact. And my point was that you had a couple of 10s at the club already, and he's still like in that season for him, which was the breakout season. He found his way in the team because Mata, I believe he leave the year after this one, or did he?
No, Mata. Mata was the 10 in this team. Hazard, the three of them would like interchange. It was Chelsea fans. We call them Mascar, the Three Musketeers. The way they would play off each other and interchange. And I think Torres that season, I think that was his best goal scoring season for Chelsea. Which shows Torres was quite poor, but because he had so much service, that he was still able to get quite a few goals. Mata was sold. Under
I remember Jose. It was a January signing. It was the year we had Moyes. I think it was the year after this one.
13-14.
Yeah.
January 13-14 is when we sold him. Yeah.
January transfer window. And that was the year you guys had Mourinho. And I remember you guys were in the title race for a while. That season, by the way, was crazy because I think Chelsea were the only team that won. You had beaten City home and away. I think you had
Liverpool and City home and away. Yeah.
You beat Liverpool and City home and away as well. Obviously, that Gerrard slip, and you guys won that game against Liverpool. So I remember that you were in the title race at that time too. But yeah, like there's like one thing I remember for Oscar. It's weird. Like this might sound really weird. Is I just remember Oscar in different Chelsea kits, and it's like different Chelsea kits would just bring out different memories for me for Oscar. Like that one. Like that classic Samsung one, that specific year, the 13-14 year. I obviously just think about that 6-0. And I think you guys were in the Champions League at that time too. You went out to PSG, if I'm not wrong, or was it
13-14?
13-14.
13-14, we lost in the semi-final against Atletico Madrid.
I remember it was at the bridge, and I think
we played PSG in the quarters. Atletico in the semi-final. If we had won that game, we would have faced Real Madrid's La Decima team.
Mad. Yeah. And that would have been Mourinho as well against Real Madrid's La Decima team. That would have been crazy. What a storyline. But yeah. Let's see what else we can get into. I guess we can get into some of his stats.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Where do you think Oscar would thrive in, play best with? What do you think he needs? What did you think he needed?
I just think he needed to play in an actual like attacking team. Like if he had played under Sarri, I think that really would have suited him. And I think he also needed to be the main man because, and again, he was fine with being the supporting cast. and having to do the dog work for other people. But if he was allowed to be in a team where he was deemed the Hazard, he was deemed the Neymar, he was deemed as the guy, I think that really would have helped him because not saying he had the talent of Hazard, but I think if he was allowed to showcase his talent a lot more, he would have got a lot more praise and respect from people. Because people treat him as if like he's a Mount or a Bruno when he's not. He's much better than those players. He was an actual
much better.
Like he was an actual big talent coming from Brazil when we got him.
So, which team would you say he would have complimented back in the
back then?
What team do you think he would have definitely complimented? Would have been that standout player, or could have got that role he wanted?
Back then, just in terms of how they played football, probably Arsenal.
Okay,
I see that.
I see
the Arsenal at that time. Who did they have? They had. We're talking 12-13. They had. This is the year after Van Persie left, so they had like the Gervinho. They had Rosicky. Was Santi Cazorla there at that time? I believe he was.
Yeah, they had Santi Cazorla. They had Podolski.
Lucas Podolski.
This was before they got Ozil.
Ozil, yeah, because Ozil was the year after.
So if they had got him instead of Ozil, I think that's
a good shout. Oscar instead of Ozil. What could have been for? For Arsenal. Fair enough. I do have his stats open. Obviously, like Oscar wasn't really a player of stats, if I'm going to be honest. Like if you're just for people who just judge based off of goals and assists and stuff like that, his numbers are not really that high. But it's more of the impact that he made onto the team and also in the attack. So we're looking at his first season. He had around 34 appearances, scored around 4 goals. And then in the FA Cup, he had 4 goals as well, 14 appearances in the FA Cup. I think FA Cup, who won the FA Cup that year? 12-13. Was it? Oh, it was Wigan. It was actually Wigan that won it that year. Yeah. But I remember you guys played us in one of the rounds. And it was a crazy game because I remember Chicharito scored that one header. And I think Hazard had a crazy goal as well at Old Trafford. I know one of the rounds was at Old Trafford. And I remember he was maybe part of that game. But yeah, like if we look at his next year, 13-14, 33 appearances, 8 goals. So a better year for him. It doubled his goal tally, actually. 14-15, he had around 6 goals. This is when you guys won the league under Mourinho. And then 15-16 was when, obviously, Mourinho's that one season where you guys were... Did you guys finish? Where did you finish this season? I remember
we finished 10th.
10th, yeah, in the league.
Yeah, Jose got sacked in like November, I think. November, December.
Right.
Right. Yeah, that was a terrible season for everyone.
Terrible season. I think I remember that season. That's when Leicester won, and I think you guys had Pedro that time too. You guys signed Pedro, and you had Falcao, if I'm not wrong. Radamel Falcao.
We signed Pedro that summer, and Falcao was on loan.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. And then 16-17 was, I think he left in January, if I'm not wrong, right?
Yeah, he wasn't. That time? He started off the season playing, and then we lost 3-1 at Arsenal, and then Conte switched to a back 3, and then he just wasn't in the team. He was benched, and then he was sold in January.
Yeah, it wasn't part of the plans. Cool. And then if I do remember, he was sold to a team in China, if I'm not wrong. Was it Shanghai? Yes. Shanghai Shenhua, is that how you pronounce it?
I think so, yes.
Okay, I think so. And then the fee was crazy, but I can go to it real quick. 1 second.
What was the fee? I can't remember. 60, 70?
Well, Shanghai Port. My bad. That was the wrong team.
How much?
60 million. 60 million is what you guys sold him to Shanghai Port for. So money back for sure. Or profit. Because what did you guys buy him for? Around like 25 or something like that?
Yeah, we didn't buy him for like a lot of money.
So triple.
Well, I guess it was a lot for a player coming from Brazil, but in reality, not a lot of money. But
yeah.
He I don't know. It's like he went for. To be fair, he went for the bag, and fair enough. But
yeah, he went for the bag.
He still could easily have played in Europe and balled out. So I don't know.
How old was he at that time when he left as well? I don't think he was that. Let's see. Let me see how old he is right now. So he
could not have been over 25, maybe 24 or something.
He's 32, and he left in 16-17. So that's around 7 years ago, we'll say. So he was 25 when he left, and he went to that's
in the
mad.
prime of his career.
In the prime of his career, he went for the bag, and then after that, he really didn't go anywhere else. I think he's been
still
there.
I think.
He's still there. That's insane, bro.
Yeah, I think he's
That's
still there.
crazy. So I'm reading some of his stats. In his second season at that club in China, he scored 12 goals, and Shanghai won the league for the first time. So he was even successful in China, winning his club the league for the first time ever. In January 2022, Oscar was linked with a return to Europe with a move to Barcelona. So that was that's not that long ago. In March 2023, Oscar claimed that he would love a return to Chelsea one day. Of course, he said
there was rumors about that as well.
He told TalkSport, he said, of course, it's a dream to come back to Chelsea because everyone knows the passion that I have for this club. It's the same passion I have for Shanghai. It's the two clubs I have played for a long period. I have a lot of good memories at Chelsea, and I have a lot of good memories of Shanghai. But I'm still here, and I still have dreams to play for this team. What do you say, Prime? You take Oscar back today if you could.
Today,
let's say Joao Felix doesn't happen. You take Oscar.
Maybe not today because I think it's been so long. But
yeah, it's been too long.
Because he was linked with a move back. I think either under Tuchel or under Lampard, he was linked with a move back, and I would have taken him then easily. Would have taken him back.
March January 2022. So that's 21 going into 22. Who was the manager that time?
Oh, 22 Tuchel.
Yeah, that
was
Lampard?
No, 2020 January 2022. Yeah, that was Tuchel.
That was Tuchel. Okay, so Tuchel.
Yeah, 2020. Yes, I would have taken him back then. Yes.
Because he was linked with a move to Barca then, and I'm sure if Chelsea came along, he'd definitely pick Chelsea just based off of the quotes and stuff that he said.
Yeah.
Cool. What would you say is like your favorite game that you've watched Oscar play? You think he had the best performance in? Because I'll try to find that game and go through his stats in that game. But what would you say you think was the best game for Oscar in a Chelsea shirt?
I would say the Juve game. I think it's the second game we played against them that he played in, that he started.
The one in Turin. Was it the one in Turin, or was it the one at Stamford Bridge? Okay.
Because I remember in that game that he was like, basically he was like man marking Pirlo.
Mm-hmm. Which is crazy. Like not an easy job at all.
Yeah,
of course,
it's not an easy job.
Not an easy job at all. And even like they had the likes of like Marquisio in that Juventus team at that time. I think
Pogba was still there, no?
I think Pogba was there. Yes, he was. I think that's when he actually left. It was the year before that he left to go to Juventus, so he was there at that time. Yes, yeah. I think he had some goals and stuff like that too. Let me see if I can pull up.
That Juve goal was actually insane.
Yes. Yeah, that Juve goal was insane.
Who did he? Was it Pirlo? Maybe. Maybe it was Pirlo. He turned.
I could play it. To be fair, I think
he turned fucking Pirlo and went top bins with it.
Let me see if I can pull up Oscar's stats. My apologies, people. But yeah, if you guys have any questions in the chat too, definitely drop them through. Make sure you guys are liking the video. Make sure you guys go also check out YG. Make sure you guys check out Prime and stuff like that on socials. I'll drop the links.
It's such a shame because with having Hazard, Oscar, Mata, a baby KDB, and then we bought Willian. We bought Willian in 2013.
Okay.
When did we buy Willian? Yeah, and Willian at that time coming from Shakhtar at that time, he was actually like a creative player. He's not the Willian that we know of now.
You're right.
Like if we had like an attacking manager, like even like a Klopp or a Pep or someone who's more attack minded, front foot instead of Jose, keeping all those attacking players, adding a quality striker on top, we really could have built something. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Also, not to forget that Juventus team literally had Buffon in goal too, and for him to score a goal like that in the top bins past Buffon is absolutely crazy. And this guy was only 21 years old. It really.
You know what I call that?
What do you call that?
Aura.
Aura. This guy's favorite word is literally aura, bro. All he talks about is aura prime, by the way. So let's see. I'm still trying to look for stats. It's really hard to find stats from old games these days, to be fair.
Yeah. When did Neymar go to Barca?
2015.
Neymar went to Barca. Yes. Was it 15? No, it was. I can't remember actually.
14, 15.
When did Neymar go to Barca? Let's see. Neymar to Barca. It was either 15, 16. No, it wasn't 15, 16 because that was the time they won the Champions League. It wasn't the year after that. It wasn't 16, 17. It was 17, 18. That's when it was. 17, 18. The same year that we signed Lukaku. That was the year. Yeah. It was FIFA 18. I'm remembering this through FIFA. It was FIFA 18, and that was the same year that we had signed Lukaku. Yeah. So it was 17, 18 at that time.
But yeah, the goal he scored, he spun. Well, yeah, spun Bonucci and Pirlo, to be fair.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up the goal. To be honest, that's fine. No worries about copyright and stuff like that. I'm gonna pull up the goal because.
Go on.
We got to see it. We got to see the goal for sure. Let's see.
Yeah, we got to stop messing around.
No, for real. Got to remind the chat. I'm gonna go through Twitter though, so let's see if I can find it on Twitter.
Yeah, what were your thoughts on Oscar as a rival player during that time?
Honestly, YG, you can go ahead first if you want while I look for this.
I was like, shit, we got trouble on our hands. And at that point of time, Chelsea were on top. I had a lot of friends, cousins boasting about Chelsea at that time. It wasn't a nice feeling. Like, and another talent added in after watching, maybe was the Olympics, I'm assuming. Yeah, I think it was the Olympics. Everyone hyping this Oscar, sorry. I was like, shit, we got trouble on our hands. And when he started to play, I was like, okay, he's not getting the minutes he deserves, but he's still doing things with the minutes. And then when he played us in the FA Cup, I was like, shit, he's good. And I was actually shocked when I seen him go so early into his career. But I'm guessing he couldn't really maintain the status he can have or could have had over at Chelsea because he had actual star key players around him and really he was off the bench. But I agree with the sense where you said maybe if he had an attacking manager, maybe he'd get more game time, but he needed to leave, I reckon. But Chelsea's in his blood, you can tell. It fucking sucked as a rival to watch someone like Oscar play for a rival team. Suck. It's like one of the Ozils fucking sucked.
Prime, was he offered a contract at Chelsea at that time? Like, what were his wages? Do you remember by any chance? Because I could pull it up to see if wages if you don't remember at the top of your head. But
I don't remember off the top of my head. But I think because Conte got quite rid of quite a few players that January. He got rid of John Obi Mikel. He got rid of Ivanovic. To be fair, Ivanovic was done at that time, but he just got rid of players that just weren't suited towards his system
style of play. Yeah.
Which I think it's kind of crazy because he would have worked in one of the twin tens in his system. I think he also could have worked in midfield and a midfield three as well. But yeah, I don't know.
How much he was on and stuff like that. Yeah, I'll check that.
I think just the back, because I remember during that time China, they were trying to set up their Super League over there, and they were just spending crazy money on whoever players that they could get. They tried to sign Costa as well.
Remember, it was Hulk. Do you guys remember the player Hulk? I think Hulk started that whole thing to China because his transfer, I think, to China was absolutely crazy. And I can pull that up too to see what the fee was. But I think that's where it's weird. Like at that time, China was Saudi basically in today's world. Yes. Literally, like China was literally like Saudi in today's world. They're trying to grow their league and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't feel like a lot of players really do
not anymore.
It's not anymore.
I feel like it wasn't sustainable. It was no way sustainable. They just spend a lot of money, but they couldn't sustain anything.
They had Iniesta. I think he's still there.
Iniesta is I actually don't know. Yeah, I think he's in Japan actually. He's not in China. Yeah, he's in
that's right.
But yeah, like at that time China was definitely like Saudi. I think if you compare China and Saudi today, I feel like you'd prefer to go to Saudi, if I'm not wrong, right now at this moment, just because there's a lot more players who are going there right now too. So the league is getting a little bit competitive in terms of that. But that time there was only really like one or few players that would go to China. Oscar, for example, Hulk, for example. I'm trying to think of some other ones too, but yeah, it's crazy. It was absolutely insane. But I have his goal right here, basically. We'll watch it again. Let's see. Start from the beginning. I know you're somewhere out there. That's Pirlo right there as well.
Insane.
That is Pirlo right there as well. That's absolutely insane. Yeah. I remember another goal that he had. Prime, you probably remember this. Do you remember when United played Chelsea at the Bridge? And I think we lost 3-1, if I'm not wrong. And this was the year you guys won the league. He played like a backheel pass to Hazard, and Hazard was just threw in on goal, and he ended up scoring. I'm gonna try to look for that goal too. But he's had some great goals, honestly. Oscar. I was also mentioning to YG, Oscar was actually, if people don't know this, he was the one player that scored for Brazil when they lost to Germany 7-1.
Yeah.
He was literally that one player who scored. And it was like at the end, too. They're already like 7-0 up, I believe, or 6-0 up or something like that. But yeah. My guy, Michelle, is that how you pronounce your name? He thinks Oscar's a dead baller. Fairs. He said Ahmad is what I thought Sancho would be. Fair enough. But yeah, why do you think Oscar was a dead baller? Let's hear that. Let's hear why you think he was a dead baller. Because I think he had a pretty successful Chelsea career.
Yeah.
He won
he was very.
Technically, he won 2 league titles. If you don't want to count that last one.
Won the Europa League.
Part of one. Mm-hmm. But I think he had a pretty successful career, to be honest. And even at Shanghai, if you're gonna take his like the career that he had in China, he won a league title for that team for the first time. That team never saw a league title before Oscar joined. So
yeah, I mean Oscar could play. He preferred to play in the 10, but he could play left or right. I remember under Jose in Jose's first spell, or not first spell, his first season back. Yeah. There were times earlier in the season Oscar played in the double pivot in midfield. I think that's where he even played in the Super Cup final. I'm sure.
Right.
But yeah, man. It's a shame that he left.
It's a shame. I know. I hear you. It's definitely a shame because the guy was. Oh yeah, here it is. Oh, it was 1-0. That's what it was. It wasn't 3-1. I'm sorry. Yeah. This was the only goal that they scored that day. So let's see where we have the goal right here. Yeah, right here. Okay. It's on YouTube, so it's all good. But make it full screen. He's definitely one of those ones. And you asked this question, I didn't actually get to it. What I thought as a rival fan, to be honest, if we really take everything into perspective, this was a year that you were going off of the Champions League, so you had just won the Champions League, of course. I think when I found out that you're signing Hazard and you're signing a player like Oscar, I was kind of like, okay, maybe Chelsea are looking to try to repeat winning this Champions League, and I definitely feel like your team wasn't weaker. In terms of that, I feel like you definitely strengthened. It was more so of the fact that obviously Roberto Di Matteo just didn't work out, because I think you guys had a really bad start to the season at that time. And he got sacked after, wasn't it like he got sacked after like 5 or 6 games, or I could be wrong. Like it could be more than that. I remember there was a West Brom game that you guys had, and I think he was sacked after that West Brom game, but I could be wrong.
He got sacked. We finished 3rd in our Europa League group, or in our Champions League group, sorry. And then I think he got sacked after that.
Okay. Yeah, it could have been something like that. But then again, Benitez came in. You guys ended up winning the Europa League too. I forgot who you guys played in that final. Was it Basel?
Benfica.
Benfica. Got you. Got you. Benfica it was, yeah. Big up to YG. Sorry I couldn't get to that. YG did say he had to leave around 30 minutes or so because he had some family stuff to take care of. So he said I don't want to cut anyone off, but cheers for having me.
Pick up YG.
Got to go sort some shit out. No worries, YG. Appreciate you being on the show, of course. But yeah, I'm trying to think of what more else that we could get into. Eli makes a good point. He says, let's keep it a buck. Oscar starts for most teams in the Premier League at that time. 100%. 100%. Even I look at Chelsea in that time were, if we're looking at this year that I just showed, the goal that he scored, they were the champions. They were the best team at that time. I think you were going for an unbeaten run too, up until when you guys went to Tottenham, and I think that's where you guys lost the first game, I think, in that season, and then of course later on too, maybe you got a couple of losses, but that was a good year for Chelsea. Fabregas was in the team. Diego Costa was scoring goals left and right. I remember Andres Schürrle played a big part in that Chelsea team too. Hazard obviously having that year for you guys as well. And then the year after that was kind of when Costa was still there. But where did it basically go wrong after that? Mourinho's third season.
We didn't. And see, this is a thing where like a lot of rivals and Chelsea fans don't realize this. How when I speak about the under Roman, that and we actually just spoke about this on Joey's channel. I always say that since 2017, we have not had a very good transfer window and we haven't been able to build properly. But someone mentioned since 2006, Roman had failed to strengthen Chelsea after winning a major trophy.
That's true.
And when I look back, particularly after winning a title, when I look back through it, Jose, after we won the league in 15, he wanted John Stones, who people remember John Stones at Everton at that time, was a highly tipped defender.
Right.
He is what people are making the noise about Jared Braithwaite right now. He wanted Paul Pogba. I know Pogba at United, but Jose didn't work out. But again, Pogba at the time, big talent. He wanted those two to help strengthen the team, but instead we signed Papa Dilaboji. We signed some American center back kid, and then we signed Pedro basically on deadline day. That's all we did after winning the title, and things kind of fell apart with him, the players, the board, etc. You know how it is with Jose, and then he got sacked when we were
third season syndrome. Do you remember when that was like a thing for Jose? Third season syndrome. This guy just fails and
a year. I think we were a point or something above the relegation zone. Yeah, it was awful.
That was awful.
It's the worst it's ever been for Jose after like 3 seasons. It's the worst.
3 seasons, yeah. Because even for us, in our third, I'm trying to think, in our first season when he was with us, he won the Europa League and the Carabao Cup. Second season, he just finished second, didn't really win a trophy. And then third season was that abysmal year. I remember that year. He got sacked, and then Ole became manager. I remember that year too. But that's crazy. That's absolutely insane. But yeah, I think Michelle says Oscar couldn't make it in the Prem, went to China. I disagree because I feel like he already did make it in the Prem. Because he won 2 league titles. Well, if you really want to count one, then sure, we'll even count that 1 league title because that was
some of your favorite players have not done what Oscar's done at Chelsea.
True. And like me and Prime are both like this. We're not people who just go based off of stats. Like we're obviously people who watch our teams closely and watch players very closely. You take away all his stats and all that type of stuff, he was still a very, very pivotal player to that team because you had a very, very good option. You had, like Prime said, Mata. You had Ramirez at that time. You had Oscar at that time. You had Fabregas in the team. You had all these different players, and Jose had a bunch of options to deal with. Oscar not better than Dimitri Payet. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Dimitri Payet, you know. Go on, Prime. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I think Payet's best attribute is his free kicks, but
free kicks,
that's really what but aside from that, like, see why I say the disrespect Oscar gets, because again, he's not a Mata, he's not Cesc, he's not Hazard, so. Because he played with those players, but he wasn't on that level, people automatically then think he's a scrub. But no.
Yeah, like he.
If United had Oscar these last how many years has it been? Bruno's been there. If you guys had Oscar, you wouldn't be this bad.
Yeah, that's true. We've had Bruno since let me see. Was it 18-19? Yes, it was, or 1920. It was 1920 since we've had Bruno. So it's been it's almost 5 years now, basically, going into his 5th year. Yeah, if we had Oscar, that's what our team could have been, to be honest. But 60 million at that time to China, I don't think we were willing to pay any type of money like that. That was also the year you guys won the league was when we signed Zlatan, we signed Pogba. We spent a lot that year already, so I don't think we would have gone for someone like Oscar. But I hear you. 100% Oscar would have been a pivotal part for us in that team. Oscar wasn't a flair player. He was more of a chance creator, link up, but don't sleep on his tech. That's one thing I'll say too, and I mentioned it already multiple times on the stream, is that people don't realize how techie of a player Oscar really was. Like these days, we call people fake Brazilians. Oscar was not a fake Brazilian. That's one thing I'll say for sure. Like he was definitely not a fake Brazilian, and it's a lot like this. If I could give a prime example, right, is when we talk about Barcelona in 2014-15 when they won, the Champions League and stuff like that. I think majority of the people wanted to talk more about Messi and talk more about Suarez, but Neymar was really, to me, in that team at that time, their most pivotal attacker, because I think everything was going through him. He actually scored in the Champions League final. He scored in the semifinals as well. He had his goal tally that season was impressive, and I think he was very pivotal part to that Barcelona team in that Champions League run. I kind of feel the same about Oscar in the year that he won the Premier League and also the Europa League, and Prime just mentioned it too. Because you had the likes of all these other players at the club, you didn't really look at Oscar as that type of player. But I think Oscar was definitely up there in terms of like the player who would get things ticking for you, who'd pull the strings and all that type of stuff. Obviously, he played a much higher role, and Fabregas was really the one who was in that midfield trying to make things happen. But yeah, man, Oscar is one player who was very, very, very much slept on. Very, very much slept on. And who knows, had he stayed at Chelsea, not obviously saying, because like the decision of him leaving Chelsea, Conte still ended up winning the league. So I don't think a lot of Chelsea fans can argue that, oh, if he would have stayed, things maybe could have been different. In hindsight, everyone was really okay with it because of the fact that you guys still ended up winning the league and the system completely changed. But I still wonder what really would have been if Chelsea had kept Oscar. Maybe we would have never seen the likes of Mason Mount. Maybe we would have never seen the likes of other players too. But who knows?
Yeah, but I just think like Mount because Mount at least back then was a lot more like humble. He wasn't the Mount now who's arrogant. Having someone like Oscar to like learn off of, because I think that would have helped him. I think that really, really would have helped him.
Because Mount was like a little bit of, I feel like it was two things. One, obviously he was part of Cobham, right? When he was a kid, he was part of the academy when he was a kid. So that's one thing. Two was also the fact that you guys had got Frank Lampard, and he played under Frank Lampard at Derby County, if I'm not wrong, right? So that was also one of the things that could have basically played a part in that. Big up to AJ. He says, I truly believe Oscar is one of the most underrated players of his time, and if he never left European football, he could be a Chelsea hero at least. What do you think Chelsea fans think of Oscar these days? Obviously, just I know you're not going to really speak of all Chelsea fans like that, but
I think a cult hero.
Okay,
at least he is for me. I view him as a cult hero. He's not. I wouldn't say he's a legend. He didn't spend like enough time to be a legend, but I think like definitely a cult hero. Like some of the things he was able to do. Again, it's just a shame that his stint was just so short for us. But winning a title, winning another European trophy because of him. And we were like unbeaten in the Europa League that season as well. That's a stat that like people don't talk about.
Really? I actually didn't know that myself.
We were unbeaten that competition.
Okay. Big up Don C. Big up to you, man. Hope you're doing blessed, Don C, every single time. But that, I didn't actually know that. Let me actually go through Chelsea's Europa League run that year. But I remember that Europa League run very vividly, because I remember that was like when Fernando Torres cut his hair and kind of got a buzz cut, and I just remember Fernando Torres from that season like very, very vividly. But Chelsea's Europa League, you had basically 2 European trophies on back to back. I think that was the first time any team ever did that, like won the Champions League and then won the Europa League next year, or won like 2 European trophies like that. This was 13. This was 12-13. Okay.
12-13. Yeah, we were the only team to hold both the Champions League and Europa League in a space of 12 months.
Crazy. Yeah, that's crazy, man. So Chelsea, yeah, that's why I think Chelsea are the biggest club in London, man. Sorry for people who are in the chat, Arsenal fans. I'm sorry, but this is why I think Chelsea is the pride of London for sure. But let's see. We'll go through their stats real quick and their run, just on Wikipedia. Let's see. Damn, Europa League.
But yeah, no.
So I'm going through your group. You had actually, you dropped out because you were in the Champions League that year, so you weren't even in the group stages. You dropped out. I'm looking at these groups actually. So the Atletico Madrid was
my bad. Sorry, we were unbeaten under Sarri. Sorry, we were unbeaten in the Europa League under Sarri.
Under Sarri. Okay. No worries. I'm still gonna go through Chelsea's like Europa League stuff. So I'm looking at just the groups. I'm looking at the likes of some of the teams, and we'll share it with the chat real quick. But let's see. So Liverpool, haha, fuck them. They were in the Europa League. They actually finished top of their group at that time. Atletico Madrid was in there. Let's see. We got Marseille, Borussia Mönchengladbach, Fenerbahce. Newcastle United was also there in the Europa League. I actually don't remember this at all. That's crazy.
Yeah, because of us. We finished 6th in 2012, but we won the Champions League. So that pushed everyone down. That Spurs, I think, finished 4th that season. Yes, and then that pushed them into Europe.
Yes.
Because Newcastle finished 5th and they pushed.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I remember both Spurs fans and Newcastle fans hate us because of that.
Yeah, I remember that. That's true. The year after that too, or this same season when you guys had won the Europa League, didn't Spurs because you guys were in the Champions League. Oh, you guys were in the Champions League next year because of winning the Europa League, but Spurs had finished 4th. I don't think they made the Champions League though because of something like that, right? That same season?
What 12, 13? What 2012 or 12, 13?
12, 13. Yeah. Was it that? I could go through the Premier League table too because I remember we were champions. We were champions. No, City was 2nd.
12-13 we finished. I don't think we finished top 4. No, I don't think we finished top 4, but we finished. But yeah, because so that might have been the case then because we won the Europa League, meaning we're in the Champions League. So that might have been the case. You're right.
Let me actually see. Premier League table because I remember Chelsea fans were going at Spurs fans at that time just for that because they had missed out on the Champions League and stuff like that too. So here, let's see table. And I hate Wikipedia, man. Fuck, gotta go all the way down. No, so I was actually wrong. You guys finished 3rd that year. You guys finished 3rd.
Wait, you were basically 12-13.
12-13. Yeah. 12-13. Here, I'll share it real quick. Let's see.
How is that? Wait, we were like a. That's crazy.
I remember this though because I remember you guys had beaten us at Old Trafford. Mata scored. It was 1-0. Do you remember that game? 1-0 against us at Old Trafford. Mata scored. I think that time you guys were on this like little Champions League run. I remember in the last like maybe 10 games or so, you were really far from the 4th or 3rd or 4th spots, and then you went on this crazy run where you basically won like majority of the games. And under Rafa, under Rafa Benitez.
Hey, I remember that season. Like we were when Jose got sacked. Or sorry, no, my bad.
This was before Jose.
Yeah, no, I'm confusing. Yeah. I'm thinking of the Jose season he got sacked. Yeah, okay, so that's fair enough then.
No, 3rd you guys finished, and then Arsenal were 4th. Yeah. And then, I remember this. I think Arsenal's last game was against like Newcastle or something away, and they ended up winning. And the 4th spot went to the final day, basically. And Spurs, remember, like that was the year where Gareth Bale had that crazy season, and he went to Real Madrid the year after that. Yeah, that was that same year where he had that crazy season. Okay, so fair enough. That kind of we're a little bit going down the memory lane though, people. Yeah. But yeah, that's good. Real quick, big up to Flawless. I see Flawless is in the chat. He says shout out Cheek, big up Prime, big up to Flawless every single time. I'm sure all you guys are subscribed to Sarcasm City TV, but if you're not, please go ahead and check him out and subscribe to his channel, Playback as well. Lots of great content over there. And yeah, man, he's the GOAT right there, Flawless. So big up to you, Flawless. Hope everything is good with you, bro. Michelle says Arsenal are that old guy in the bar that talks about what they did but not relevant. Chelsea is the pride of London. Taking shot at Arsenal fans. I love that. H says big up Unk. And yeah, there we go. Cool. And then going back to the Europa League groups. So we'll actually go through the Europa League for Chelsea that year. let's see. So Spurs were there. Leverkusen is there, and then we had this team's right here, and then knockout phases. This is, I think, where Chelsea comes in. Actually, yeah. So you played Sparta Prague. You won 2-1 against them. Don't know this team. I've never heard of this team before. Honestly,
yeah.
Yeah, and then you played Ruben Kazan. I remember Basel. This game I remember because I remember watching this game too. Basel ties I remember, and then final was Benfica. Who scored in the final for Chelsea?
Torres got the opener, and then Ivanovic scored the winner with a header. And I think Benfica, who scored, was it Cardozo?
Cardozo, I don't remember, but I could pull up this game.
At that time.
See, final.
I think at that time it was Oscar Cardozo.
Yes, you're actually right. Penalty. Yes. Cardozo. Man,
I know ball, man.
Hey, good memory, Prime. There you go. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, no Chelsea fan will forget European nights. So I get that, like a European trophy triumph, and yeah, I totally get that. But yeah, I'm looking at. Let's see. So you guys could have played. Newcastle played Benfica in the quarters. They lost. Then Fenerbahce played Benfica, and then the other one was Basel. Chelsea. Tottenham could have also played. Tottenham lost to Basel in penalties.
Yeah.
Mad. So you guys could have actually played them in the semifinals, which would have been a crazy tie in the Europa League. But yeah, that's crazy. Let's see. What else can we really get into? Because we've been live for an hour. We could, I guess, go through his Premier League year, the year that they won the Premier League, 2014-15. I could pull that up real quick. Let's see. But yeah, any other questions that you guys got in the chat for Oscar, for us, for me, for Prime? Drop them through. Obviously, make sure you guys are running up the likes and stuff like that. I knew the stream would kind of be like this because Oscar is like one of those type of players where, again, because he had such a short stint. There's not really much that we could really get into, just other than talking about like how, his career and stuff was, some of the goals that he scored and all the trophies and stuff that he won. But I guess the last thing we'll do is go through that 2014-15 year, and we'll go through Oscar's stats. Let's see. This is, I guess, just an overall of his stats, and I don't even know how accurate this probably is. I think the stream's slacking. These are also his passing percentages, I guess. Passing attempts, key passes, all that type of stuff. So in 14-15, the year that they won the league, or actually we'll start off from 12-13. 34 matches, 24 starts, 4 goals, 6 assists. So you basically had 10 GNA. 13-14, he pretty much around the same one less game played, and he had 10 GNA. 14-15 was that 14 GNA, 6 goals, 8 assists. I don't know why they don't have his passing stats for these 2 years, but I have it for this. But he had like an 82% passing rate. His passing attempts are there, stuff like that. I guess all this stuff really doesn't really matter. But these are just some of his stats if you guys, I guess, want to look at it. But yeah, I guess we'll close out Prime because we don't really I'm running out of things to really say about Oscar. But final few things that you would say about Oscar as a footballer, basically.
Yeah, Oscar's he's a player that, because he played with, I guess you can say, 2 generational players. If you class Hazard and Neymar as that, he played with 2 generational players that he wasn't deemed as. He's not looked at as highly, but if you actually watched him, he's a player, again, like a Neymar, like a Hazard. He's more than just the goals and assists, the things that he did to influence a game for Chelsea. And his work rate off the ball, which people love to talk about nowadays, work rate, was just as important for Chelsea as well. He's a player I personally love, but it's a big shame. If Conte played him that season, he probably wouldn't have left in January, and things would have been could have been a lot different for us, for Chelsea. But it is what it is, unfortunately.
Would you say Oscar was like a type of player? This is just a question from me, to be honest. Would you say Oscar was a type of player that you would build around? You build a team around? Or let me ask you this: would you consider him part of a spine, like a Chelsea spine? Or do you say it was more of like Hazard or someone else?
Well, yeah, because we had Hazard and we had Mata. Like, obviously they were just deemed as the guys for Chelsea, and then we brought in Cesc. But in terms of the way Hazard and Mata played with Oscar when they were together, I remember again that season 12-13, it was called Mascar for a reason, because they were all playing off each other. They looked just as good as each other. Like, again, I just think if we had a more attacking manager, like, I love Jose and I love that he came back, but if we brought in someone else, maybe it was a Klopp or a Pep or whoever was around at that time, we had a more attacking manager, people would look at Oscar a lot more differently, because we see how important systems are nowadays, and we see how certain players are looked at a lot more fondly because of the system they played in. If he played in an attacking system, you would have saw a lot more from Oscar.
Fairs, yeah. I think I would say the same thing in terms of just overall. Basically, yeah, like and in terms of like the player as a rival, I think I was definitely someone who was like really pissed that Chelsea had a player like Oscar. I thought he was quality, of course. Since he joined Chelsea, even the years that he had, that one specific game that I brought up to where he scored that goal against us, I remember Oscar vividly. And I didn't hate Chelsea. I still, till this day, don't really hate Chelsea like that. It's not one of those rivals that I hate, but I think Oscar was a gem of a player. I think it just kind of sucks because you had all these other good players around him where he was one of those type of players who was kind of under the radar. But yeah, had he stayed at Chelsea, who would have known? And I think a lot of Chelsea fans don't really think about that these days, or that type of stuff these days, is because of the fact that they still ended up winning the league that year. So I think it's something that they were just more of like, hey, we won the league, so we couldn't really care less about Oscar and what could have been. But that's pretty much it in terms of the episode for today, the Almost Show. Oscar was with the player that we discussed. Obviously, we had YG on earlier. We had Prime on right now. So thank you, Prime, for obviously showing up to get a little bit of a Chelsea insight, because definitely wouldn't have done this show without you. I wouldn't have a lot of things to talk about. There's actually a lot that I learned from you as well in terms of Oscar too. So appreciate you being on for sure. Big up to everyone who's tuned in to the chat. Flawless, Michelle, Joel, AJ, Eli, Don C. We had H in the chat. Who else anyone that I'm missing? YG, of course, was here in the chat too. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And Prime too.
If you
do
any more Chelsea related shows or related topics in terms of this, just let me know.
Definitely. You know, while doing the stream, I think I got one. I think we'll definitely do Andre Schürrle. I think we'll definitely do Andre Schürrle in the future, because that's another player that I really liked at that time. So we'll do that, and then I think the next episode that we're gonna do was an Arsenal player. So I'll shout Eli, I'll shout some Arsenal fans and stuff for that to get perspective on that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today's episode. We will catch you guys later tonight. I actually will be live. I'm gonna do the Brighton versus Man United preview. It's gonna be a super late one, so I apologize. I really apologize for the timing and stuff like that. I think it's going to be 5 a.m. UK time, so I apologize for that. But pull up. Last time I did it,
time, wow,
5 a.m. UK time. Yeah, but Prime, you'd be surprised. There were a lot of people that showed up last time. I did the same type of thing last week because we played on a Friday, so I did the show on a Thursday, and I did it like right after I was off work and stuff like that. I'm gonna be doing that tonight. So Brighton versus Man United preview. Definitely check that out. We will be doing a Wolves versus Chelsea watch along this weekend too. Prime, obviously, if you're obviously welcome for that. You can join the panel for that. But yeah, we'll be doing that in terms of Chelsea, since we're on the Chelsea topic. And then Aston Villa versus Arsenal. We'll be doing a watch along for that too. And I'm sure Flawless is doing one as well. So definitely go check out the Sarcasm City TV playback for that watch along. And if you have some time, come out here and leave us a like as well. But that's pretty much it for today's episode. We will catch you all later tonight, or I will see you guys later tonight. Up until then, I hope you guys all have a great rest of your Friday. Big up to you guys, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one.